Hi, I'm LeeAnn, Employment Counselor with Finger Lakes Works, Ontario County. During this video, I want to talk about job applications, how to fill one out, what's expected, and some tips and tricks. The purpose of the application is to get you in front of an employer for an interview. Most of the time, you're not in front of the hiring manager to answer questions about yourself. So you want to make sure that your application showcases your best skills and abilities and answers any questions that they might have about you and your ability to fit in and meet their needs. Most employers see your application before they see you, and they will make assumptions on your work based on how neat and complete your application is and how it reads. So if you want to be interviewed, you definitely want to make a good first impression. If you're going in person to pick up an application, go dressed for an interview. You might actually have one right on the spot. Be prepared, bring one or two black pens just in case one runs out of ink. Or better yet, if you can find an erasable pen, that's even better. Some employers that prefer that you might stay and fill out your application. So what you might want to do is bring all of your dates of employment and education and any reference information that you have, bring it with you. My best advice is to print a blank application before you go. You can do that from Microsoft Word. They have templates on there, or just do an internet search for employment applications. Fill that out ahead of time and bring it with you. That way you don't have to recreate the wheel every time you're filling out an application. Read the entire application and the fine print before filling it out. Pay attention to things like if they want your last name first, or if they're asking you to print. Employers will use this to see how well that you follow instructions. Failure to complete an application according to instructions conveys a terrible message that you simply cannot follow instructions, or you have something to hide, and no one wants to hire such people, and you will have wasted your time filling out an incomplete application. Target your application to the job you're applying to. Make your past look good. List duties that you did that went above and beyond. If you ever trained another employee, be sure to list that. Businesses usually pick their best workers to train others, so that will make you look good. You should be prepared to spend anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour completing the application. The more prepared you are, the less time-consuming the process will be. The first section of an application will usually request your contact information. Pay attention to how they want you to fill this section out. On this particular application, they are asking for you to fill out your first name, middle initial, and last name in that order. If you do not have a permanent address, ask permission from a family or friend to use their mailing address. When your phone number, make sure that your voicemail is able to accept messages. Have a professional voicemail greeting. Give yourself a call and see what happens. Most employers won't spend time to track you down if your phone isn't working. They will move on to the next application. When it comes to email, you might be interested in setting up a separate email account specific for job searching purposes. Be sure it is professional in nature. A good example would be your first name, last name at google.com or yahoo.com, something like that. This section is asking about what type of job you are interested in. Remember that new employees usually get the shifts that no one else wants, so you want to be as flexible as possible on your application. You don't need a reason for the employer to screen you out immediately. If you see where it is asking, please list the name of the position, you want to avoid saying any in this spot. If you really are open, for example, what you might want to do, if you're, say, applying to a restaurant, you could say something like kitchen help or customer service. But try to get the specifics before you apply. And remember that most employers are getting a lot of applications, so they might have multiple openings. The information you provide in an application may become part of your permanent employment record. False information you provide can become basis for dismissal. This part of the application is asking for additional information. Parts of this can be tricky. It is very important to be honest. Sometimes less is more. An example is if you've ever been convicted of a felony. List the year and the conviction. But this question is really best answered in an interview. You'll want to answer a few things. Admit that you made a serious mistake, take responsibility, and note that you've made some changes in your life and you want a chance to prove yourself. If a question does not apply to you, write the words "does not apply." This shows the employer that you did not overlook anything. List any and all education and training you have. Try to appear educated, even if you lack formal credentials. Enroll in a program before you fill out an application, if that will open more opportunities for you. Then state on your application that you plan to complete on a future specific month and year. We have free programs available all around the county, so check in with us. If you have any specialized training skills, this is a spot where you can enter that information. Be sure to follow the instructions. This application is saying please list all work experience, beginning with your most recent job that you had. Attach additional sheets if necessary. Fill in all sections here. Write NA if the section doesn't apply to you. Don't be lazy and write C resume. The worst thing you can do is not explain yourself. Employers will fill in the gaps about you or jump to conclusions about you. List duties that you performed that went above and beyond. If you trained someone else, list that. If you lack formal work history, get creative. Do you have life or volunteer experience that you could list instead? Did you belong to some type of group, church, school sports team, or did you sell something? Again, if it's asking for the company location and you don't know, be sure to take the time to look it up. An internet search will provide this type of information for you. When it comes to the reason for leaving, it can be tricky to fill this out. Most applications will ask the reason that you left a former job. Refrain from negative statements about yourself or your former employer. Avoid terms such as fired or terminated, or you couldn't get along with others, or you left for medical reasons or lack of transportation. These are all indicators that it may be difficult to work with you, or it may be difficult for you to get to work every day. Alternatives may be reduction in workforce or company reorganization, found other employment, or you quit to look for a more interesting or challenging position. Many applications have limited space to record your skills, experience, and accomplishments. If you attach a resume that details all of your skills and accomplishments, that will be ideal. If you're going to use a person as a reference, it is important that you ask permission to use his or her name. Make sure that the person is prepared to make comments about you if asked, but it also ensures that you don't request a recommendation from someone who will not give you a great reference, or they'll give you a bad one, or who doesn't think very highly of your work ethic or capabilities. The certification is usually the last step of an application. Be sure to sign your application. Failure to do so may invalidate your application and raise a question about your ability to follow instructions. If you would like to speak to an employment counselor, see some samples, or even have someone proofread your application before you turn it in, give us a call or send us an email. We have 5 career centers in the Finger Lakes region. You can also log on to www.fingerlakesworks.com to find the closest career center to your home and to find out about all the other services we have to offer.